It was just another quiet drive through the Georgia backroads, until red and blue lights shattered everything. A mother's refusal to surrender her rights led to blood on the pavement and a terrified child pulled from his seat. But what the officers didn't know was who she was married to. This is not just about one family's fight. It's about what happens when silence ends and justice begins. Monique Johnson didn't see herself as brave. She was a mother, a wife, someone who held things together when her husband was gone. That morning, like so many before it, she packed a snack for Malik, adjusted the mirrors, and set out with her son riding beside her in the passenger seat. The sun filtered through trees along a quiet stretch of Highway 9 in rural Georgia, and for a moment, life felt still. Malik, 10 years old and always thinking too much for his age, hummed along to the music. The boy had been through more than most kids should. Derek, Monique's husband and Malik's father, was a Navy SEAL. Years of service had built an unspoken weight in their household absence, anxiety, unspoken fears. Then the lights appeared. Red and blue spun in her mirror like sirens of doom. She eased the car over and parked on the gravel shoulder. Monique's hand stayed steady as she rolled down her window. She reached for her license and registration, just like she'd taught Malik to do, if anything ever happened. Two officers approached Maddox and Renier. Monique didn't know their names then, just their eyes. Cold, calculating. "Step out of the vehicle," Maddox said. "I'm sorry, officer. May I ask why?" He didn't answer. She handed him her documents. Everything was valid. No broken taillight, no speeding. But Renner walked to the back and tapped the trunk. "Pop the trunk, we need to look inside." "Do you have a warrant?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "No, but if you've got nothing to hide, I'd like to know the legal basis first." That was when everything shattered. Maddox yanked the door open. Monique barely had time to cry out before she was thrown to the ground. Her face scraped the pavement. Malik screamed. Renner dragged the boy out by his arms. Panic twisted through him, and his breath shortened. Malik's therapist called them flash events. This was one. Monique, bleeding and breathless, reached inside her coat pocket. Not for defense, for her phone. And she called Derek. He was 3 towns over when the call came through. No words, just the sound of Malik screaming and Monique trying not to cry. Derek didn't ask questions. He moved. Within minutes, his black SUV tore down the highway. The second he arrived and saw his wife's bloodied face and his son gasping for breath, something inside him froze. He stepped out slowly. Deliberate. Not angry. Not yelling. But carrying 20 years of discipline in every footfall. The officers turned. "This doesn't concern you," Maddox said. "That's my family," Derek replied. He kept walking. "You need to stay back," Renner added, hand near his holster. Derek didn't blink. "The cameras are live. Everything is backed up to cloud storage. You lay one more finger on either of them and I swear." "Are you threatening officers?" Maddox snapped. "I'm promising you accountability." He helped Monique sit upright and lifted Malik into the SUV. Then he turned back to the officers and tapped his chest. His watch had been recording the entire time. They froze. They had made a critical error, and now it was irreversible. Monique needed stitches. Malik needed calm. So they left the city, found a quiet cottage in the countryside, where trees rustled louder than sirens, and no one looked at them like they didn't belong. Malik stopped screaming at night, but he started drawing images of flashing lights, of his mom crying, of 2 faceless men grabbing him. Derek saw every line, that every pencil stroke was a story he couldn't erase. Back in the city, Derek wasn't silent. He contacted civil rights attorneys, former SEALs who'd become advocates, legal experts on Fourth Amendment violations. He built a case not out of revenge, but for truth. Every email, every body cam angle, every radio transcript. He collected them like ammunition. The police issued a vague statement. "We regret the confusion during a traffic stop involving officers acting under protocol." Derek issued his own, a video, unedited, raw. It spread. Thousands watched, then tens of thousands. But not everyone was supportive. Some called it fake. Others said Monique must have provoked it. Malik was probably reaching for something. The comments hurt, but they didn't stop Derek. He launched Project Resolve, a grassroots coalition to document cases of roadside misconduct. No politics, just proof. And then came the real turning point. An anonymous message appeared in Derek's inbox. Internal memos. Complaints against Maddox dating back 3 years. One even referenced an officer-involved injury suspiciously similar to Monique's case. Derek sent the documents to the state attorney's office. An investigation opened. Suddenly, Maddox and Renner were on administrative leave. More voices emerged. One woman had lost her baby during a rough stop. Another man had suffered a broken wrist. All had been buried under bureaucracy until now. Monique stood tall at the city's public hearing. "I'm not here to make speeches," she said. "I'm here because I bled on the side of a road with my son screaming beside me. I'm here because I had to explain to my 10-year-old why some people see us as threats first, and humans second. I'm here because silence protects no one." The room fell silent. Then applause. Malik, now back in school, wrote an essay titled "The Day My Mom Got Hurt." He read it aloud in class. Voice shaking but steady by the end. His teacher cried. Half the class stood up to hug him. Derek received a call from the mayor's office. Direct meeting. Not for damage control, but to listen. A plan was drafted for mandatory body camera use, independent civilian oversight, and mental health training for officers. The story didn't end in a courtroom or a viral clip. It ended in a small home, where Monique stood at the window, watching the sunrise. Malik leaned against her, holding her hand. He still had bad days, but fewer. Derek stepped in from the porch, coffee in hand. They didn't say much. They didn't have to. Because for the first time in months, the light looked like hope again, not something distant, but something earned. And on that road where it all began, a new sign had been posted. Protected by truth, guarded by justice. And this time it meant something.